Welcome, Phillies and Gentle Colts, to part 2 of my fanfic reading of Cupcakes. Now, for those who, I don't know, for some reason haven't watched part 1, well, you should have. But this fanfic is incredibly disturbing, and yeah, consider it before reading it. I didn't, and I regret it. So, yeah. Really know what you're getting yourself into. Okay, let's see. Part 2. The link is going to be on the description to the fanfic. Dash awoke with a gasp. The stench of her urine filled her mucus-caked nostrils. As her vision swam into focus, she saw a very pouty Pinkie Pie removing a large adrenaline needle from her chest. Stomping her hooves, the frustrated Pinkie lashed out at her helpless victim.
Didn't any pony teach you any manners? It's very rude to fall asleep when some pony invites you over to spend time with them. How would you like if I came over to your house and went to sleep? Oh, I'm sorry, Dash, you're so boring I think I'll take a nap. You think I like always doing this by myself? I told you how excited I got when I found you were next. I was excited to have a friend be here with me while I worked, but no, you've got to be inconsiderate. You know, I thought you were tough. I thought you could handle anything. I've had foals stand up better than you. Do I have to baby you, huh? Is that what you want me to remember you, as a baby?
As Pinkie stopped to catch her breath, Dash blinked and sobbed softly. Her back was in agony. Her sides were on fire, and there was an intense pain in one of her legs. As she blinked again, she saw Pinkie pop something red into her mouth and began to chew. Noticing Dash's stare, Pinkie quickly gulped the morsel down.
What?
Pinkie asked.
Oh, this.
She held up another piece.
Well, while you were asleep, I got a little impatient and helped myself to a small sample. I got it from your leg. You're not bad. Wanna try some?
Without waiting for a response, Pinkie shoved the strip of meat into the revolted Pegasus pony's mouth. Dash gagged and immediately spit it out. Pinkie frowned and picked up the chunk of flesh.
If you didn't want it, you should have said no.
She contemplated the discarded snotty morsel and gulped it up.
It's not like you haven't had my cupcakes before.
Swallowing, Pinkie turned her attention to a small can on the tray. She removed the lid, revealing that it was filled with red-hot coals. Lying on top of the coals were several large nails. As the adrenaline filled her veins, Dash began to panic again. Picking up the can, Pinkie walked over to Dash's left. Holding some tongs in her mouth, Pinkie carefully picked up a nail and positioned it at the seam between her victim's front leg and hoof. She then grabbed a hammer and took careful aim.
No, Pinkie!
Dash screamed.
No! No!
The hammer came down, and the nail punctured Dash's skin. The white-hot burning was too much. Dash screamed as she pulled and thrashed at the braces, causing her raw skin to rub and tear. Pinkie tried to line up another nail, but couldn't find her aim, and let out a frustrated grunt. When Pinkie brought the hammer back to take a wild swing, Dash burst out crying and begging,
Please stop! Please! Please stop!
Pinkie rolled her eyes. Putting down the hammer and tongs, she walked back in front of her friend and stared pensively at the broken Pegasus. Gilda didn't even cry this much when she had a live Paris bride stuffed down her throat. Pinkie thought for a moment about what to do next, then had a sudden spark of inspiration. Rotating a wheel on the rack, Pinkie laid Dash on her back and then moved to Dash's hind legs, bringing the can with her. Picking up her tools, Pinkie drove a searing hot spike of metal directly into the bottom of Dash's hoof. As Dash yelled in pain, Pinky moved around and drove a second nail into the other hoof. Next, Pinky went back to her cart and located an enormous battery and controller, which she dragged over to where she was working. She tied copper wires between the terminals and the nails driven into Dash's hooves, then gave Dash a wink and flipped the switch. Electricity rocketed through Dash's body. The blue pony reacted immediately. Her body seized and her muscles snapped taut. Dash's hips thrust skyward, her eyes rolled back, and she let out a deep throat-shredding cry. Pinky giggled and danced in place, then reached down and turned up the juice. Dash convulsed uncontrollably, and her bladder emptied once more. After about 5 minutes, Pinky shut off the power. Wisps of steam rose from the singed fur around Dash's hooves, and the area reeked of cooked flesh, burnt enamel. Pinky rotated Dash upright again, and tried to snap the drooling, delirious pony back to attention.
Dash! Dash! Rainbow Dash! Wake up!
Dash moaned and managed to give a modicum of weak acknowledgement. Pinky studied her handiwork, then reached into the medicine bag and produced a large syringe.
All right, time for the last round.
Dash focused blearily on the needle, which Pinky took as a question as to what it was.
This is something to take the pain away,
Pinky informed Dash as she walked around to her victim's ruined back. Dash flinched as Pinky jabbed the needle into the lower part of the blue pony's spine. Moving in front of her friend again, Pinky leaned down and elaborated.
In a few minutes, you won't be able to feel anything below your rib cage. Then you'll be able to stay awake to watch the harvest.
Dash started crying again.
Pinky,
she choked out.
Yeah, I want to go home,
Dash sobbed.
Yeah, I can see you wanting to do that, replied the party pony. Sometimes I just want to give up. Just say, I'm done with this mess and go to bed. But you know what? You can't shrug off your responsibilities. But you know what? You can't just shrug off your responsibilities. You got to pull yourself up and meet the challenges head on. That's the only way you're gonna get ahead in life.
Dash hung her head and cried. Minutes passed as the drug took effect. Eventually, Dash was completely numb from her chest to her flanks. At this point, Pinky approached with a scalpel. Glancing at Dash and smiling, Pinky made a long horizontal cut across the Pegasus pony's pelvis, just above her crotch. Moving up Dash's body, Pinky made a similar incision under her ribs. Finally, Pinky made a long vertical cut down Dash's stomach, connecting the first two.
Looks like I got my eye on you, Dash,
Pinky giggled. With a moist, gooey sound, the flaps of skin opened. The sight of her own organs and the lack of feeling caused Dash's breathing to intensify. Pinky carefully sliced open Dash's abdominal sac and grabbed her large intestines. As she separated the organ from the rest of the digestive tract and pulled it out of the new cavity, Pinky grew jovial. Laughing as she got at her friend, Pinky began to make jokes. Dash, growing weaker from this new source of bloodlust, tried desperately to shout out the macabre comedy act.
Look at me! I'm Rarity!
Pinky laughed, slinging the intestinal tube around her neck and spraying blood in all directions.
Isn't my new scarf so pretty?
Reaching back inside, she sliced the smaller intestine off from the bowels. Squeezing out the excess excrement, Pinky filed the slimy organ through her teeth and dragged it back and forth.
Dentists say you gotta floss every day, Dash. Dash was barely aware of what was going on anymore. The shock was causing her to fade. Disappointed, Pinkie dived back into the blue pony's guts, rampaging up her routine. Ah, don't go yet, Dash. Pinkie started pulling out the rest of Dash's organs, pausing with each removal. I know I can be a real pancreas, but you know I'm just kidney with you. You really got to learn how to liver it up. Boy, these jokes are getting flatter. Guess you gotta develop a stomach for them. Pinkie placed the discarded body parts into a bucket, keeping the last one for a bit longer. Ooh, bagpipes, she said, placing the end of Dash's esophagus in her mouth and the stomach in her armpit. She squeezed, and a spurt of acid hit her tongue. Ew. Oh, hey, look, there's your cupcake, Dash. Dash didn't hear her tormentor. She had slipped from consciousness minutes ago. Pinkie, not yet satisfied, hit Dash with another adrenaline shot. Dash woke up for the last time, her heart pounding. Warm blood flowed out from the wound in her chest in great spurts. It wouldn't be long now. Pinkie brought Dash around onto her back again and straddled the blue pony's chest, scalpel at the ready. You know, Rainbow Dash, I'm disappointed. I thought you would have lasted longer. I really wanted to spend more time with you before we got here. But I guess it's my fault. I should have taken it a little slower. Oh well, it was really nice knowing you, Dash. The blade sunk into the blue throat and worked its way up to Dash's chin. Coming back down, Pinkie's scalpel then circled Dash's neck. The last thing Rainbow Dash felt was her skin being cut away from her skull, and the metal of the blade scraping her teeth. Then she was gone. Pinkie stared into the mirror. She had done a really good job, even keeping the eyelids. She winked, and Dash winked back. Pinkie smiled. But still, she was sad that her friend was now gone. Dash had only lasted 50 minutes, not nearly as long as Pinkie had wanted. She looked back at the cadaver hanging in the center of the room, the last of her friend's fluids draining into a pan. Yep, no more Rainbow Dash. As she looked, Pinkie cocked her head. She began to take notice of the fact that there really wasn't much damage to the corpse. In fact, the pink pony mused, I think... An idea exploded in her head. She was good at sewing, and she had all the pieces. All she had to do was put them back together. Yeah, she just had to get some stuffing. And bingo, she'd have Rainbow Dash forever. In fact, thought Pinkie, that's what she'd do for all her best friends when their numbers came up. She was so excited, she skipped right over to the body with her Skinner to get started. The cupcakes could wait. Pinkie had a friend to make. And that was Cupcakes. I've read it 4 times already, and every single time I get scared to death and sad as hell. Anyway, what am I supposed to say? Oh yeah. I don't even know why I read this. I think it was because I'm going to eventually read, like, stuff related to this. But, you know, everyone already knows about Cupcakes. Or at least every brony. Well, I think that's all. See you next time, I guess.